It was, it was a real baptism of fire. I mean, I produced Slow West, but that was, $2 million film. This was a different beast for sure. So, a few sleepless nights, but really rewarding. I learned an awful lot. I feel like I cut my teeth on this one in terms of producer role for sure. Definitely instilled a lot of confidence in the project when they came on board. Also, Adam Arkapaw, the DP, his visual flair is just something that I knew would elevate the project, and the way that him and Justin work hand in hand, it's a very sort of visceral experience when you go see one of their movies. And yeah, I knew, Justin's a great leader. He's a very strong visionary. He's fantastic with actors, but also he's just somebody that instills a lot of passion in the whole crew and can communicate very well to all the department heads. So I knew as well that he had a good relationship with violence in his past sort of work. I mean, from Snowtown Murders to what we experienced in Macbeth, what he did with the resources available and the money available, I knew he was the right man for the job. Yeah, we wanted to, this to sort of feel different than a lot of the films that are of this genre. Just alone, the sort of concept of the good guy and the bad guy, or the villain and the hero. This is a very morally ambiguous world, and a lot of the times with these sort of genre films, it's very clear who to root for and who not to, and this one's a bit murkier. Yeah, Callum was a character that we wanted him to sort of become a leader by the end of the film. He's a reluctant leader for sure, and he's a maverick. So even when he does take the sort of leadership mantle, he does it against the wishes of everyone else in Abstergo that is an assassin. Everyone's avoiding finding the Apple of Eden, this artifact, whereas he goes head on straight for it, and there's something very proactive about that I like. But also the fact that when we pick him up at the beginning, we see a very cynical, sort of selfish person, somebody who's very distrusting of others. He's definitely a lone wolf. The idea of sacrificing himself for the good of something else is so alien to him, until he starts to sort of enter the animus, and through the eyes of his ancestors, Aguilar, he starts to realize that in fact he does belong to this long line of lineage of assassins, and that he does belong to something greater than himself, and he takes on that sort of role. So it was really interesting to have that journey through the experience of the animus, and this concept of genetic memory, and that in our DNA we have this experience of our ancestors that's very much alive in our genetic makeup. And that to me seemed like a really plausible theory. Not only is it a cool sort of thing to play with, but it really makes sense. That's what drew me to it from the beginning. I thought, okay, if we have this sort of fantasy universe, but it's grounded and anchored in this sort of very sort of real scientific thesis, it just brings something else to it. It really kind of draws you into the story and helps the illusion. It was, and we knew that it was going to be, with the parkour elements alone, it's, and the way we filmed it, to be honest, it was very important to Justin that we were going to film this in real locations with real people, as opposed to something that would be saturated with CGI effects and special effects. So we're running along the tops of buildings in Valletta and Malta. We're jumping from them. We're hanging off them. We're fighting on top of them. So it was something that obviously was going to require a lot of sort of physical involvement. And both Ariane Labad and myself, she plays Maria. We did 95% of the fights herself, which was cool. I hope so. There's so many facets to this universe. The concept of, who are Templars, this sort of elite group in society, a secret society that is very wealthy and powerful, and they turn the wheels in what goes on in the world. And they believe in science and order, and they also believe that, some people should be enslaved. Some humans are more valuable than others. And then you've got this sort of antithesis to that ideology in the Assassins, a group of people that believe in free will at all costs for all people, and to preserve and protect that. And the fact that the original assassins were Adam and Eve, and they took that free will and to pluck the apple off the tree in the Garden of Eden. That, for me, it's fictional, but it's kind of interesting when you put something like that up on screen, and there's a lot of things within that could be familiar to us. And it's pretty provocative stuff, I think.